Our next speakers are the members of Team Shift. Kelly Fitzgerald attends Wheeler High School and loves drafts. Anna Ewald attends Wheeler High School and plays softball. Sabine Saldana attends Campbell High School, is a ballet dancer. Last but not least, Claire McCoy attends Wheeler High School and was born in London. The art to spark change is to inspire others to pursue their passion. Let's welcome to the stage Team Shift.
You may not believe this, but this car took us halfway around the world, twice. 6 years ago, we were making the transition from elementary school to middle school. We all knew each other throughout elementary school, but we became really good friends in 7th grade when we joined this class called STEM.
Science, technology, engineering, and math.
Not knowing what exactly we were getting ourselves into. STEM was a hands-on class where we could participate in anything we put our minds to. We were building things like robots and radio receivers.
But what really caught our interest was F1 in schools,
which turned out to be the greatest opportunity of our lives. We're not here to just tell you what we did. We're here to share our passion. We're here to encourage each and every one of you to follow your passions, because it's amazing where it may take you. F1 in schools is our passion, but you might be wondering what exactly F1 is. One of the most frustrating parts of F1 in schools is simply explaining what the program is when people ask. You have no idea how many different things people thought we were doing, from a science fair to math team to an international spelling bee. But we typically use the phrase an engineering competition, but it's really so much more than that. F1 in schools is an international competition where teams design, analyze, make, test, and race model race cars. Think about it this way. Our team is no different from your average car company. We have to design a product, run that product through various tests, manufacture that product, and then market and explain it. The competition itself is the marketing of our car and us as a team. But there's so much more than just racing cars head-to-head. We're also scored on an engineering portfolio that documents our entire project, a pit display that summarizes us as a team, a verbal presentation, our engineering and innovation behind the car, and our identity as a team and our relationships with our sponsors. So what does that mean for us? Well, we went to our first competition in 8th grade in Michigan in 2011 as Team Raptor. We went to this competition expecting nothing at all, but once we got started, we realized that we could actually compete. We ended up winning the award for fastest car, for best for use of SolidWorks, and placing 2nd overall. This earned us a spot in the 2011 World Finals as a collaboration team with 2 boys from Germany. After that World's experience, we knew that we could compete, and we knew that we could win. So we came back to the 2012 National Finals as Team Shift and did just that. We won the award for fastest car, best engineered car, were nominated for all other awards, and placed 1st overall. This made us the first all-female team to represent the United States at the international level and be the first all-female team to be United States national champions. So in 2012, we traveled 43 hours to Abu Dhabi, and we competed in the 2012 World Finals representing the United States. We had an amazing experience, as well as won the award for outstanding sportsmanship and placed 8th overall and had the 4th fastest car. So when people first see this car, they don't really expect much, and then they see it go.
So you're probably wondering what actually goes into making a car like this. With a car this small and a race that quick, it's almost ridiculous how many endless hours of work went into creating it. The first thing we did was sketch design concepts, just little doodles here and there until we had a solid design to start from. Our heads were so focused on F1 that the majority of our sketches were done on napkins and at the bottom of class worksheets. Using these sketches, we created a 3D model of our car in a CAD, or computer-aided design program. CAD is a program taught in college to engineering students, and we were using it in 7th grade to create tacos, toothbrushes, but most importantly, cars. While designing our car, we had to follow a strict 23-page document outlining every single technical regulation in regards to the car. When we finished one design, we ran that car through a computational fluid dynamics program, which is a bunch of fancy words for a virtual wind tunnel to simulate the airflow during a race. The results from the wind tunnel are a bunch of pretty colors and arrows that represent the air speed, pressure, and direction of airflow. We then used this information to redesign the car to improve its performance. We then ran the car back through the wind tunnel and redesigned it again, and ran it through the wind tunnel again, and redesigned it again, and so on about 200 times. And I know that sounds like a lot of time it's spent in front of the computer, but we were able to get outside while still working on F1 through physical testing. We created three-dimensional geometric shapes and dragged them through a pool. The water simulates airflow, and we were able to determine the most efficient shape to use in the car body. When we came to our final design, we used the solid model file to program a CNC router to cut out the body of the car. However, this car was not made just by machine. The majority of the manufacturing was done purely with elbow grease. Once the CNC router cut out the car, we sanded and sanded, did a little more sanding, and hey look, some more sanding. Then we put on a coat of primer and continued sanding. We sanded and primed and sanded and primed until our hands were raw and the car was smooth enough to paint. In order to manufacture the wings and wheels, we used a 3D printer, which is a lot like a regular printer, but in 3 dimensions. Just like how a regular printer moves back and forth along a sheet laying down ink on the paper, a 3D printer moves back and forth along a tray, laying down ABS plastic layer after layer until the shape is created. However, probably the most important aspect of this car are the wheels. Because broken-in bearings spin more smoothly than brand new bearings, we spent hours upon hours sitting with the cars spinning the wheels. We attached the wings and assembled the wheels, and after months and months of living and breathing F1 and staying up until 3 and 4 in the morning working on the car, portfolio, and display, we were finally ready for the competition.
So going to the first competition was pretty strange for all of us. We were different from the other teams in just about every way possible. Not only were we all girls, but we were also one of the youngest teams there. We were in 8th grade at that point, while almost everybody else had been a good way through high school. Plus, we had never been to a competition before and didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. All the other teams showed up with elaborately designed and constructed displays that used multiple different types of media and sound, and we showed up with a TV monitor and 2 pieces of foam board that had a collage of pictures on them that we had cut out at 2 a.m. the night before. And yeah, that was it. I mean, we had the content, but design could have been improved upon. The other competitors saw that we were young girls and that we had a, let's just say, very DIY display, and immediately put us in the we don't really have to worry about you category. So when we finally beat the other teams, we surprised everyone, including ourselves, and even heard we just got beat by girls from one of the all-male teams. We walked out of that competition with 2nd place and the ability to collaborate with 2 18-year-old boys from Germany to go to the international competition in Malaysia later that year. And that was the start of one of the most interesting periods of all of our lives. As if a language barrier, time difference, cultural difference, and ever-growing workload weren't difficult enough, how about we add an age and gender difference into the mix, just to make things a little bit more difficult? So, as you can probably imagine, this collaboration was, one of those learning experiences, and I know we've all been there. But from it, we came back stronger and ready to take on the US 2012 national competition once again. But this time, our experience would be very different. We were very different, as I'm sure you can see. For one, we ditched those very unfortunate uniforms, because let's just be honest, those are pretty rough. It was also around this time that we changed from Team Raptor to Team Shift, something that actually happened while we were sitting on the living room floor thinking about a name that would better represent how our team had changed, or shifted, for the better. We were still one of the youngest teams, and at this competition we were the only all-girls team. But this time we didn't hear, we just got beat by girls. Instead, we heard, we're racing Shift next? Well, at least we got this far. We were there to prove that we could take home the gold. And that's exactly what we did. We knew that being an all-girls team in an engineering competition wasn't exactly considered the norm. But from our perspective, we just kind of did what we were supposed to do. But we didn't really know what we had done once we won. So when we got the question, how does it feel to be the first all-female US national champions, we didn't really know how to address it. I still don't know how to address it. I mean, I'm sure that we would have all loved to say that it was a dream come true to be female US national champions, but we saw it as a dream come true to be US national champions. Adding the word female only meant that our feet hurt. Well, they hurt a lot from the heels. The international competition itself was very different from that of the nationals. We went from having to raise a couple $1,000s to having to raise tens of thousands. We went from small displays that would fit on a table to displays that people would walk into. We went from a couple of teams from around the nation to over 30 teams from around the globe. And we were easily able to interact and make friends with our international competitors because even though we were students from completely different places all over the world who didn't even know that the others existed, we all had one thing in common. We were all driven and passionate enough to think of nothing other than F1 for a year of our already busy lives. To let F1 occupy our minds even when it probably shouldn't have been. And yes, I'm sorry to all of the teachers out there, but I am talking about during school. And because of that, when we showed up at the competition, everybody helped each other. If somebody's car broke or somebody lost their shoes, the other teams would be there to help, even if it was 11 o'clock at night. We were at a competition that in many ways didn't seem competitive at all. Sure, we all wanted to win, but it was kind of an unspoken fact that we were all there for so much more than just the engineering.
In these competitions, but also throughout the entire project, we learned so much about ourselves, the world, and the expansive knowledge that was open to us. To condense this massive project into a few simpler terms, I would say that we learned how to overcome adversity, serve as US ambassadors, and contend in a very diverse interdisciplinary competition. First, one of the main things we learned from F1 was how to rise above adversity. As you can probably tell, F1 in schools was in no way an easy project, and we put so much time and energy into F1. Balancing the project with school, sports, and whatever social life we could manage was really difficult. To top that off, our school also did not formally support the program, so we did most of the work in our own living rooms and garages. Also, as we stated earlier, we faced some discrimination as an all-girls engineering team. At the start of the competition, some of the other teams questioned our capabilities, seeing only 4 young girls. But as soon as we reached out and made friends with our fellow competitors, they realized that we were also there to win. Another major issue we had to overcome were finances. There were some really scary dry spells when searching for sponsors, and at one point we had officially called off our trip to Malaysia when a sponsor came through at the last minute. It would have been really easy to quit F1, but we chose to take the long way and rise above our circumstances with our passion and love for F1 driving us forward. Secondly, F1 taught us what it means to represent our country. After going to the first and second national finals at Michigan and placing first and second place there, we didn't really know what that meant. We would be representing all of America at an international competition along with about 20 other countries, forging international connections and helping to create an understanding between completely different cultures. We were girls, we were Americans, and both Malaysia and Abu Dhabi are primarily Islamic countries, so we stood out, but it wasn't always in a bad way. At the competition in Malaysia, some local schoolgirls came, and they were specifically looking for the American girls so we could get a picture together. Even in Abu Dhabi, the people we met were always willing to take initiative to talk with us about the difficult questions of the differences in religion and culture between our countries in a very friendly and welcoming way. And these were the moments that we really saw the bigger picture of what we were doing, and we realized that we were making global connections, initiating friendships, and just representing our country in places we never imagined we would go. But outside of the competitions, we imbibed so much culture and just stepped out from our comfort zones, whether it was sand surfing in a desert or going to a fish spa in Malaysia. But even in these cultural experiences, we still had to maintain our professional image as US ambassadors, and as a silly group of 4 high school friends, that was a struggle for us. But we realized that F1 had prepared us to behave professionally, and we had learned how to conduct business with corporate sponsors and just maintain a very professional image throughout all of the excitement and fun of the competition. Lastly, F1 inspired us to share what we learned. Even today, we are so busy with school, but we just really want to make an impact in our community and reach out. And, throughout the entire competition, we've spoken to Girl Scout troops and elementary schoolers. We recently presented to Cobb County STEM teachers. We started an F1 club at our school, and now we're standing here sharing our story with you. Throughout the course of our F1 experience, we've reached over 11 million people through different media outlets such as our Facebook page, our Twitter, our website. We were published in Motor Trend magazine, and we reached over 11 million people, and we hope to continue impacting people and encouraging them to pursue their passions.
Competing in F1 in schools was the first thing that we really chose to do on our own. Our parents had always put us into activities, but this was the first thing that we really took and ran with, and look where it's got us. We couldn't have done any of this on our own, though. We had so many parents, teachers, and sponsors that were behind us every step of the way. Our passion and support system drove us to where we are now, telling you about an experience that we don't fully believe happened to us. All of our hard work has finally paid off. Each one of us brought something so different and unique to the table, and we balanced each other perfectly. I mean, we're 4 high school girls. You would have expected at least one cat fight to break out, but that never even got close to happening. So we're just here to encourage you to work hard at the things you love. Don't stop for anything.
There were times when we were looked down upon as girls, but we didn't stop.
There were times when money was short and sponsors were not abundant, but we didn't stop.
There were times when the workload seemed unbearable, but we still didn't stop.
If you love it, do it.
We were all good students.
We were all musicians and athletes.
But never had we worked as hard as we did on F1 or experienced anything as life-altering as F1.
Work hard at the things you love. Yeah, that car may have got us around the world twice, but that's only the beginning. Thank you.